Dobrowieczór wszystkim, I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic today. I'm Mysticle, and I'll be bringing you the latest in AR and VR news. So, as usual, I have chapters down below to skip to any specific part of this video that you might be most interested in, and with that being said, let's get right into it. So, the first piece of news that we have is actually on V71 once again, and it's a piece of information that quite a few people would have been waiting for if you do productivity on your device. If you know about keyboard tracking, on the Quest 3, you know it's only been available on a very small amount of keyboards to date, this being one of them. With V71, you can actually add a keyboard cutout for any keyboard. In the V71 PTC, as for spotted by Foes Reda, the system will instead track any keyboard within its view, even those not connected. When your hands are near the keyboard, it will show it as a pass-through cutout, and when they aren't, it will simply show the bounds of the keyboard as a white rectangle. Confusingly called keyboard tracking, this new approach has the benefit of supporting any keyboard, including the keyboard of your laptop or PC. So this is actually incredibly cool, and while it's not keyboard tracking, I wouldn't necessarily call it keyboard tracking, it does actually allow you to see your keyboard in virtual reality no matter what it is. So props for that. That's really cool. Horizon OS has finally come out with a UI kit that allows you to model UIs for Horizon OS. So Meta has released an XR UI kit for Unity, which some Quest developers have been requesting for years. When developing for other operating systems like Windows, Mac, iOS, and regular Android, developers have access to high-level UI frameworks that let them build interfaces that feel cohesive with the operating system. But until recently, the only way to build XR apps for Meta's headsets was with a game engine, such as Unity or Unreal. And Meta didn't provide any kind of UI framework for this either. This is why many apps on your iPhone use the system design language. While every app on Quest, even the most basic experiences, the UI feels completely different, often custom made by the developer or imported from the Unity asset store. Meta has finally released a solution to this. It's called Horizon OS UI Set. This is part of the V69 Horizon Interaction SDK for Unity, and provides Unity developers with the components to build interfaces that feel cohesive with Horizon OS. So hopefully now, when you jump into an application, when you jump into an experience, you will be able to see an experience that is much more full with Meta's operating system. So everything's going to feel just a little bit more interconnected, as everything, should have the same design language across apps. Now, this isn't to say all developers are going to use this. It might not work at all in some games that need to be themed in a certain way, but it is really cool finally seeing this, and I really hope to see it in certain applications like productivity apps, in which it really would be nice to kind of have it blend in with the already existing UI, especially applications that allow you to launch themselves as a sort of additional window inside the MetaQuest environment. Now, on the topic of keyboards, Meta has apparently also finally figured out how to turn any surface into a keyboard. It feels incredibly weird typing on something flat, and in case you guys remember the laser keyboard from back in the day, this is actually one of the reasons that that product probably failed. People just don't like typing without tactile feedback. Meta and ETH Zurich researchers say they have solved turning any surface into a keyboard. Floating virtual keyboards require awkwardly holding your hands up and slowly pressing one key at a time, providing no haptic feedback and preventing you from resting your wrist. If headsets could turn any flat surface into a virtual keyboard, it would bring partial haptic feedback and allow you to rest your wrists without the need to carry a physical keyboard around. Developers can technically already build surface-locked virtual keyboards on the Quest today by using hand tracking and getting the user to tap the surface to calibrate its position. But in practice, even the slightest deviation of the virtual surface height from the real surface results in an unacceptable error rate. Meta showed off research towards solving this idea last year, with its CTO Andrew Bosworth saying he achieved almost 120 words per minute. But last year's solution seemed to require a series of fiducial markers on the table, which may have been acting as a robust dynamic calibrating system. Plus, Meta didn't reveal the error rate of that system. In the Touch Insight paper, the 6 researchers say their new solution only achieves a maximum of over 70 words per minute and an average of 37 words per minute. The average person types at around 40 words per minute on a traditional keyboard, whereas the professional typists reach around 70 and 120 words per minute, depending on their skill level. But crucially, Touch Insight apparently works with only a standard Quest 3 headset on any table with no markers or external hardware of any kind. And while Meta didn't disclose the error rate. For last year's system, the researchers say the average uncorrected error rate of Touch Insight is just 2.9%. That's actually really low for an error rate, and yeah, it would be better, if you ask me, to be able to type on a solid surface rather than having to type on a virtual keyboard floating somewhere in the air. Yeah, there's still very little, if no, haptic feedback whatsoever by doing this. However, you know, it's still better, again, than having something float, as you have something you can rest your finger on and your wrists. So I would love to see this in action, and hopefully it does actually come to headsets in the future. If you want to find out more, articles are of course in the description. Apparently, the Quest 3, now in V71, has a what I would call pretty funny low battery notification that will literally nag you when your battery is low. From Fiend420 on Twitter. Quest Horizon OS V71. Sentience has been gained, and the headset will now nag you when you take it off and the battery is low.
Battery 6% charged.
So if you try to pick it up and your battery is low, it will let you know that it needs to be charged first. This is actually pretty cool, as previously you would have to put it on or peek through the lenses in order to see what your battery percentage is. Now you will just be nagged about it. And while it seems like a pretty simple thing, I'd say it's going to come in quite handy in the future. Privacy lock on the Quest 3S is now a thing. Reading from Misha Davidov, with sensor lock, even if malware compromises the Android kernel, once the privacy LED turns off, the cameras and microphones are electronically disconnected until the power button is pressed. Proud to be shipping this to our customers, on by default on the Quest 3S. It's important to ensure your privacy is preserved when you're not using your Quest. This is actually something that a lot of people were super worried about. You know, when you put away your Quest or it's somewhere on your desk and you're not using it, is it basically watching you the entire time? Well, this should hopefully ease that feeling a little bit. That's why we're introducing the new sensor lock feature, which cuts power to your headset's external cameras and microphones in certain situations, like when the headset goes to sleep. And those sensors will stay powered off until you physically press the headset's power button, so you stay in control. Sensor lock will also be added as an optional feature to the Quest 3 later this year. Prior Quest devices turn off external cameras and microphones in software instead of being powered off directly. So to ease your feeling a little bit, it looks like power will actually entirely be cut to these devices. So no matter what happens in software, they're actually just not going to have access to your cameras and microphones. Very happy to see this one coming out, and hopefully will give a little bit of peace of mind to some people. Bonelab is bringing inside-out upper body tracking to their application on the Quest 3 and Quest 3S. Stress Level Zero's Brandon J. Latch described inside-out body tracking as the most game-changing feature of VR hardware since tracked controllers in 2016, and said other hardware players need to step up and develop it or concede the space to those who do, because it will create an unsurmountable divide. Latch says inside-out body tracking will arrive in Bonelab in either patch 7 or patch 8. I absolutely do agree here. The fact that Meta could add this and actually made it happen, the fact that the headset can track your upper body, meaning your arms and your chest, with just its cameras, adds a whole ton of new points to actual physical tracking in virtual reality, giving you a much better sense of actually being in the game rather than, you know, just estimation. Because now the body parts of your character in game will be exactly where your body parts actually are, which I think is really, really cool. A ton of apps have already started using this, and in certain applications like Virtual Desktop, you can even translate this to Steam VR trackers and throw it into VR chat. A ton of people have been using this and telling me that it works great. So I cannot wait to see this in Bonelab, as Bonelab, of course, is one of those apps that a ton of people absolutely love and have hundreds of hours in. And yeah, I agree. I think this is going to bring the game to the next level. Apparently, the non-Pro Apple Vision Pro will be around $2,000. So for those of you hoping that it will be quite a bit cheaper, unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. The first non-Apple Vision Pro headset could arrive next year at around $2,000, Bloomberg's Mark Gurman reports. Gurman has a strong track record when it comes to reporting Apple's moves in advance, and revealed many details of the Vision Pro before it was officially revealed or even acknowledged to exist by Apple. In the latest edition of his newsletter, Gurman reiterates his previous reporting from last year that Apple is working on a cheaper, non-Pro headset that would lack the EyeSight front display and probably use an A-series chipset used in iPhones instead of the M-series, as well as cheaper materials. While his original reporting said Apple was discussing prices between 1.5K and 2.5K, Gurman is now giving a more specific figure of about $2,000 and claims Apple expects it to sell twice twice as many units as Vision Pro. Basically, the Vision Pro already sold a lot of devices. At its price tag, it actually sold quite a bit more than I thought it would, and tons of people are just using it as a fashion accessory as well. With the price tag being even lower, I imagine they're going to sell even more. And finally, we've got Steam NextFest. In case you guys are looking for brand new PCVR titles to try out, Steam NextFest is bringing you a ton of free trials that you can try of these games before you actually purchase them. Following similar events in February and June, the Steam NextFest October edition marks the third NextFest this year, live for 1 week and featuring over 40 PCVR games. Upload VR's current highlights include the board game collection, All on Board, and VR Arcade Fighter Final Fury. There's also Cold VR, which is basically Super Hot VR but reversed, and the classic musical rhythm game Maestro. As always, it's worth noting that there might be further PCVR games taking part in Steam NextFest. Some games may not have their demos available at the time of writing either. For now, you can check out the full list of titles in the Upload VR article down below. So yeah, in case you guys are into PCVR titles and are looking to try out some free trials, now might be your time to do so during Steam NextFest. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day or night wherever you are in the world. I hope you guys liked this one. I hope you learned something new. If you did, please leave a like. If you disliked it, I guess this one works too. But let me know why down below. If you guys are not yet part of our community, check out our Discord and our Reddit down below. I want to see you posting your spicy memes. And thank you so much to all the Patreons supporting this channel. You guys are amazing. Seriously, much love. You are what makes this possible. And as usual, if you want to be notified about your content coming up on the channel, make sure to smack the subscribe button with your forehead, ding my bell, and see you again in the next video. Peace.